Good morning, folks. Rich here in the middle of June, or the end of June now. It's the 25th, and these cover crops or companion crops have been here for, well, since May 11th or so is when I got started. And then they were planted uh, up until May 26th was the range of plantings of these plants. Um, so about 6 weeks or so. And they've really taken off and done well. Um, And up until yesterday, I was thinking I would just hollow them out as they go. So as the plant grows, I cut back the companion crops. A lot of buckwheat in this one. Um, but getting a little worried about mold. We had some rain last night, so things are wet. The slugs are really active in the companion crop, but not touching the cannabis at all. So that's really nice. Um, but yesterday, I cut down half of this one here. This pot has not been doing well this year, or the plant. So I just bent it over sideways like that, and we'll see how she does. Um, but there's the residue, or some of it. There was more than that. But in there, I planted some peas, cowpea, which is more like a bean, Austrian peas, and some vetch, and a few other things like that. So it's just still the end of June, so that's still gonna have a few months. And if I wanted to, I could probably just get buckwheat like this in another month, flowers and everything, which is great. Um, but that's really put some organic matter into the soil, and we're putting it on top of the soil, and now we're putting in a different type of crop, which is really going to focus on the nitrogen fixing, which is new here for me in my garden. Up until now, I haven't really specifically focused on nitrogen fixers. Um, but this brassica mix here is so thick. Um, it looks really cool and protective, and it is. Um, and I could continue to just hollow that out as it comes. Um, but I think what I'm going to do today is follow suit here, take these down, and then plant in their place some of those lower growing nitrogen fixing plants like the peas, the cowpea, um, and like that. And just a quick update on this pot, which is, um, we'll call it being in remediation, although it was doing quite fine. It just didn't need it this year. But yeah, it's got the buckwheat, the sun hemp, the sorghum Sudan, um, the cowpeas, a whole bunch of stuff, hairy vetch. But that'll be coming on, and next time we check in, this will probably be having flowers and growing tall. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes out. Um, but yeah, again, these lower growing clovers, like this Dutch white clover, really gives the plant a lot of room. But there's a lot less going on in the soil, so it's sort of a trade-off. We're all These are all keeping life in the soil, but they're also varying levels of commitment to that. So when you use the white clover, it's low maintenance, and then when you get into the brassicas and buckwheats and things like that, it's a higher maintenance. I'm not going to replant these at all, so that'll stay pretty much how it is, and I'll trim back the few buckwheat that are in there, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to get to trimming and planting, because we got another rain coming this afternoon, so getting ready for that. All right, here they are. Took a couple of them down over the past hour or so. You see quite a bit of the residue, the biomass leftovers, quite a bit actually. Considering that I've already mulched on top of some new seeds that I've planted, which I went for. What did I go for? Let's see, crimson clover, hairy vetch, of course, and then the winter pea and the cowpea. So those will germinate, and who knows? Maybe I'll be doing this once again. I doubt it. That'll probably get me through the end of the season, up until harvest. But the plants are looking great. Um, the camera's not going to show, especially through all this trellis. Um, But in 5 weeks, these things have, I don't know, increased 5 times the size, um, and looking beautiful. Um, but it's all this living soil, and the compost tea. When I originally made this, that's the only amendment I've included since then. So here it is with the mulch already in place, but I planted the seeds first, put the mulch on, and then on top of that mulch, I put worm castings. I had the bin out here, just pulled directly from the worm bin and threw them on top there. And what I'll do next is I'll take the hose, and with the mist spray, I will hit that and wash it down into the soil. And that's kind of like a compost extract, but I'm making it right there, where it's needed, where it's going to be used. No bucket involved. But it's surprising when you hit a soft stream on that it just sort of easily washes away. Then you're left with the woody stuff and the larger debris. Um, but any worms that are in there are now in there, so you plant some of those in there. And I have a compost tea going, and I debated whether or not to put that on before I mulched or after I mulched. Um, but my process will be I will rinse down the worm castings like I just showed, and then I will um, add the compost tea on top of the residue. I want the residue to get into that compost tea and allow it to begin working and breaking it down. The microbes in that will not only feed the soil, but this will be the building and the initial breakdown of the residue and introducing it back to the soil. So that's what's going on in the garden, June 26th.